I remember the afternoon sun slanting through the cafe window, painting flecks of light across your engagement ring, like a promise of everything to come. You sat across from me, my best friend, my confidant, Emma, eyes bright as you told me you'd finally popped the question. "He did it, Jules," you said, voice trembling with joy. "Michael asked me to marry him." You held out your hand and I traced the curve of that delicate band. "It's perfect." I felt my heart swell for you until I saw the cloud that flickered in your eyes. "But there's something," you said. "My parents want me to sign a prenup." My first reaction was disbelief. A prenup? For you? You? Whose family had always been so open. Your father, a school teacher, your mother, a social worker, people who believed in hearts more than portfolios. "A prenup?" I repeated. "Are you serious?" You sighed, running a fingertip along your coffee cup's rim. I tried to explain that it's not about money. Michael and I have been together since college. We trust each other, but his family, they're wealthy. They own half the town's real estate. They insist on protection. Your voice grew tight. They gave him an ultimatum: sign the prenup, or they'll call off the wedding. I felt a flush of anger, not at you or Michael, but at your in-laws. That's extortion, Emma. You're in love, planning a future. You shouldn't have to sign away your life's work. You looked down. I offered to negotiate, narrow the terms, but they won't budge. Michael's caught in the middle. He doesn't want to lose me, but he can't go against his parents. I reached across the table and squeezed your hand. "You'll figure it out. Talk to a lawyer. Find a compromise." You forced a smile. "Thanks, Jules. I'll try," but the tremor in your voice said everything. 2 weeks later, I got the text I dreaded. "Jules, it's over. Wedding's off." My chest tightened as I stared at the words. "I called you immediately." You answered on the second ring, voice thick with tears. "They forced the prenup, Jules. Michael wouldn't sign, and his parents canceled the wedding. They don't want me at the reception hall. They're sending back the invitations." I felt my world tilt. "Emma, I'm so sorry." I wiped tears from my eyes. "What can I do?" You sobbed softly. "Just be there for me." Then you hung up. I hopped in my car and drove to your apartment, the radio's cheery pop songs, a cruel counterpoint to the turmoil in my mind. When I arrived, you opened the door in your wedding dress, still in its protective plastic, the tags dangling. You looked like a ghost of yourself, pale, hollow-eyed, clutching the gown to your chest. "I can't throw this away," you whispered. I wrapped my arms around you. "You don't have to decide yet. We'll figure this out." In the weeks that followed, you retreated, canceling brunches, skipping book club, sleeping through your alarms. Meanwhile, I juggled my own life, managing the PR firm I'd started 2 years earlier, pitching new clients, chasing uncomfortable growth that always seemed just out of reach. Late nights at the office turned into lonely early mornings, and every time I thought of you, of the love you lost to legal paperwork, I felt a hollow ache. One evening, as I sat at my desk editing a press release about a nonprofit fundraising gala, my phone buzzed a LinkedIn message from an unfamiliar CEO. "Hi, I'm Mark Donovan of Summit Ventures. I attended your pitch at the Chamber event last month. I admire your approach to crisis management. Are you open to talking about a strategic leadership role at Steelwave Technologies?" I stared at the screen. Steelwave, an industrial firm on the brink of reinventing itself after a series of misfires. They were in trouble, missed earnings targets, leadership turnover, a vision that had lost its focus. I'd never considered leaving my agency, but something about the message stirred me, an opportunity to step into a leadership role, to save a company from itself, to prove my worth beyond the small world of boutique PR. I replied, trying to sound nonchalant, "Thank you for reaching out. I'm intrigued. Let's set up a call." The next morning, I met Mark Donovan in a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city skyline. He was tall, sharply dressed, but his shoulders slumped under the weight of expectations. "Jules," he said, "Steelwave needs help. We've lost 3 CEOs in 18 months. Morale is low. Our board wants someone who can rebuild our reputation and our culture. You have a track record of managing crises and rebranding organizations. Would you consider stepping in as interim CEO?" I took in the magnitude of his ask. "Interim CEO?" I echoed. "Mark, I run a small firm of 10 people. I love it, but leading Steelwave, that's a leap." He leaned forward. I know it's huge, but we're offering a package that includes equity, a competitive salary, a commitment to rehire you at your agency after we stabilize. Plus, you'd have complete autonomy, no prenup to sign. I laughed, the tension in my chest easing. No prenup, huh? He smiled. We trust talent, not bloodlines. I sat back, heart hammering. The comparison stabbed me. How your in-laws' demand had been the final straw in your relationship. Here was a company willing to place faith in ability over pedigree. Could I? My mind raced. Taking the Steelwave job meant leaving Emma in her time of need. But maybe this was what she needed for me to leap forward. I need time to think, I said. He nodded. 2 days. That night, I drove to your place, the city lights blurring past. I found you on the couch, amid empty ice cream cartons, your gown on the coffee table like a defeated banner. I placed a bowl of mint chocolate chip in your hand and sat beside you. I got a crazy offer today, I began. Steelwave, an industrial company. They want me as interim CEO. You scooped ice cream. Wow, you said. That's amazing. I closed my eyes. I think I'm going to do it. You set down the bowl, staring at me. Jules, that's huge. Congratulations. Then your face fell. But what about the agency? And us? I swallowed. I'm torn. But doing this might be the best example I can set. That when life cancels your wedding, you don't cancel your own ambitions. Your eyes glistened. I admire you so much, you whispered. I want you to do what's right for you. I reached for your hand. No matter what, I'll be here for you. And when I come back, if I come back, you'll always have a best friend who believes in you. You managed to smile. Deal. Over the next 48 hours, I cleaned up my agency's books, drafted transition plans, recruited a search firm to find my replacement. I met with key clients, promising continuity, with my team promising growth when I returned. Every step felt bittersweet, exciting, and heartbreaking. I sat at my desk late into the night, drafting my acceptance letter and email to Mark Donovan, confirming I would take the interim CEO role, effective in 2 weeks. I clicked send and exhaled. A thunderclap of exhilaration and fear crashed through me. I was about to step into a boardroom, filled with skeptical executives, daunting balance sheets, and the ghosts of 3 failed leaders. 2 weeks later, I stood in the lobby of Steelwave's headquarters, an austere glass and steel monolith that felt like the belly of a giant. The receptionist flicked her eyes at me. Miss Thompson? They're ready for you. I lifted my chin, smoothed my blazer, and followed her through corridors hung with abstract metal sculptures. At the end of the hall, a set of double doors opened onto the boardroom. Inside, a dozen men and women sat around a polished oak table, files and tablets before them. At the head sat Mark Donovan. He stood and extended a hand. Welcome, CEO Thompson. I drew in a breath and took his hand. Thank you. I'm ready to get started. He nodded to one side. Captain Rhee, head of operations, who stood to hand me a binder. Your first briefing, operations, finance, HR, and a 6-month turnaround plan. I opened the binder, scanning the first pages, graphs in freefall, lines of red ink, memos about morale. My pulse thundered as I absorbed the stakes. Lose this, and Steelwave would collapse. Win it, and I'd prove myself, not just to them, but to my own self. I looked around the room, skeptical faces, guarded postures. But in that moment, I felt clarity. I'd been forced from one stage of my life, but I hadn't died. I'd stepped into another. My sister's heartbreak had become a catalyst for my own leap. Now, as the new CEO, I could forge a path of empowerment for myself, for my team back home, and perhaps one day, for Emma again. That evening, as I drove away in a rented sedan, sunset glinting off the skyscrapers, I texted Mark Donovan, "Let's talk tomorrow. I have a new proposal for phase 1. Then I typed one more message, "For you, Emma. I'm in, but I'm also here for you always." I hit send, and though the road ahead felt uncertain, my hands tightened on the steering wheel with resolve. Because life can cancel your wedding, but it can't cancel your destiny. And mine was just beginning. The first weeks at Steelwave blurred into a whirlwind of board meetings, factory tours, and late-night strategy sessions. Every morning I found myself staring out over the sprawling complex, its glass towers reflecting the dawn sky, wondering how I'd landed here. Yet, each time the doubt crept in, I remembered Emma's words, "Show them what you're made of." And so I dove in. One breaking the ice and the mold Monday. 8:30, I strode into the weekly executive huddle, pocket notebook in hand. Around the table, Mark Donovan, Captain Ree, head of operations, Lydia Cho, CFO, and a couple of reticent legacy executives who'd been here through every turnover. I cleared my throat. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to kick off with one question. What's the single biggest obstacle between us and our Q3 target of a 15% margin improvement? A few heads hesitated. Captain Ree volunteered first. Ree, our outdated production line. Downtime for retooling is killing us. Lydia nodded. Cho, volume is fine, but each unit is bleeding cost, raw materials waste, energy inefficiency, and overtime pay. I jotted notes. Excellent. Let's tackle each systematically. Ree, I want a rapid deployment task force auditing the 3 worst bottlenecks by Friday. Lydia, work with procurement on immediate cost-cutting measures. I paused, looking at the silent faces of those who'd watched 3 CEOs fumble here. And I added, I'm here to make your jobs easier, not harder. I need your honest assessments. No sugarcoating. A shift passed over the room, a flicker of relief, even hope, before the meeting dove into details. It was a small victory, but every culture change starts with one conversation. 2, a crisis test. By Wednesday, Ree's task force uncovered a critical flaw, a decade-old molding machine, prone to catastrophic jams, that halted the line for hours. The team recommended a $500,000 retrofit. No small amount. I summoned Ree and Lydia into my makeshift office, formerly the CFO's private lounge. Ree frowning at the retrofit estimate. We can't afford that. The budget's already tight. Cho, if we don't fix it, downtime costs at least $800,000 a year. And morale's tanking. Operators avoid that line. I leaned forward. Then let's fund it. I'm reallocating 20% of next quarter's office expense budget. We'll renegotiate our urban office lease to free up cash. You'll have your retrofit by Monday. They exchanged glances, then Ree exhaled, relieved. You'd really reallocate from overhead. I nodded. Steelwave's real value is on the factory floor, not in leased office space. We need our people focused on production, not cutting corners. Later that day, I sent a concise memo to the board. Urgent capital reallocation to address molding machine downtime. Expected ROI 60% in 6 months. Approved. As I hit send, my phone buzzed. Emma calling. I stepped into the corridor. Hey Em. Emma softly. Hey, how's Steelwave? Me smiling, surviving. Made a big call today. Retrofit approved. The board, well, they followed. Emma, that's amazing. I'm so proud. I realized then how much I craved her pride. Thanks. How are you holding up? Emma, better. I started volunteering at the animal shelter resetting. Got Melissa to reprint my wedding invites. For a party with just me. I laughed. Your party sounds perfect. She paused. Will you be around next weekend? I'd love to see you, and maybe try on that wedding dress without the plastic. Me, I'll be there. 3. The turnaround press conference. 2 weeks into my tenure, CEO Thompson still felt surreal, but results began to show. The retrofit went live last Thursday. Initial runs cut jams by 70%. Through Lydia's negotiations, we secured discounts on bulk materials. Morale, measured through an anonymous operator survey, jumped 25 points. It was time to share our progress externally. Friday, 11:00 a.m., we lined up regional press in the conference room. The new molding machine hummed behind sliding glass doors. Cameras rolled as Mark Donovan introduced me. Mark, today we announce a decisive step in Steelwave's turnaround under CEO Jules Thompson. I stepped up to the podium, heart hammering. Me, thank you. We're committed to operational excellence and workforce investment. Our recent equipment upgrades have already improved uptime by over 60%, saving $500,000 annually. We'll reinvest those savings into employee training and community partnerships. Steelwave isn't just a factory, it's part of this region's backbone. I saw reporters nodding, scribbling. Later headlines read, New CEO transforms Steelwave, offsets $500K in downtime costs, and CEO Jules Thompson champions workers first. For once, the media praised leadership and culture, not scandal. I exhaled an enormous sigh. 4. A personal crossroads. That weekend, I drove to Emma's apartment. The city lights blurred as I thought of you. Her bride on pause. When I arrived, you greeted me in the hallway, wearing your wedding gown again. This time, sleeves rolled up, elbow deep in animal bedding at the rescue's pop-up adoption event in her living room. Puppies yipped, kittens chased yarn balls, and you laughed, handing me a kitten. Emma, I can't believe you made it. Me accepting the kitten. How could I miss this? You pulled me into a hug. Thank you for coming. I forgot how much joy this dress brought me. I looked around at the cheerful chaos. I'm proud of you for turning this around. Losing the wedding wasn't your fault. Emma, tears in your eyes. I know, it just hurt. I kissed your forehead. You'll find love again. But in the meantime, you're my best friend, and I'm here. We spent the evening playing with kittens and talking through our futures. Your micro-wedding at the shelter with rescue animals as guest stars. My big meeting Monday morning to propose a remote work policy for factory staff to boost retention. I realized something vital. Success isn't just measured in profit margins, but in the lives we touch. Your resilience reminded me why I fought so hard for employees at Steelwave and for Emma's second chance at happiness. 5. Scaling up the remote work initiative. Back at Steelwave on Monday, I presented my next bold idea, a pilot remote work program for engineers and admin staff. Turnover had hovered at 20%. Exit interviews cited inflexibility and long commutes. My deck proposed a hybrid model, 3 days on site, 2 remote plus virtual team check-ins. I faced nervous glances. The legacy executives muttered, "Our culture is on the factory floor," but I pressed on. Me. The data shows remote options increase retention by 40%. We'll start with 20 employees, engineers, HR, finance, and measure productivity and engagement. If successful, we scale to the entire office. Captain Ree interrupted. How do we track remote performance? Me. We'll leverage our new project management software, time logs, deliverable milestones, weekly one-on-one videos. Transparency builds trust. 20 minutes later, the board approved a 90-day pilot. I felt that familiar rush. One conversation can change a company's trajectory. 6. Triumph, and a twist by early month 3. The results were astonishing. Turnover down 12%, employee satisfaction up 30%, and overhead costs for office space reduced by 15%. But there was a twist. Our biggest client, a government-contracted energy supplier, threatened to pull out, claiming Steelwave's modernization distracted from quality control. I called our client liaison, Kara Noen, and flew down to meet her. Over coffee, I listened to her concerns. She was frustrated. "You're chasing headlines, Jules, but I need reliable steel parts delivered on time. I'm not interested in press conferences." I nodded. Understood. My job is to balance innovation with our core promise, dependable delivery. Here's my plan. I laid out a roadmap to upgrade our QC processes with AI-driven inspections integrated into the new equipment, all funded by the savings from our retrofits and remote work cuts. We'll roll this out in parallel, so there's no gap in your delivery schedule. Kara leaned back, studying me. "If you can prove that, you'll have our contract renewed for 2 more years. I extended my hand. "Then let's make it happen." 2 weeks later, Kara sent a text, "Inspection success, contract renewed." "Thank you, CEO Thompson." I exhaled so hard I almost sagged. Steelwave's future and my leadership was secure. 6 months after the Prenup debacle ended Emma's wedding, I returned home hand in hand with my own dreams realized. Steelwave was healthy, our press coverage glowingly contrasted with headlines of industry decline. The remote work pilot was expanding, fostering a more inclusive culture. I'd even flown Emma to the campus for our first corporate community day, where she led an animal therapy kickoff for Steelwave employees. That evening, we hosted a small celebration at my agency, now thriving under new management, inviting employees from both worlds. Emma wore her wedding gown again, this time as a symbol of resilience rather than heartbreak. We toasted with champagne, me, to beginnings born from endings, and to finding strength when life cancels your plans. Emma smiled, raising her flute. To love, in all its forms, corporate and personal. Laughter and cheer echoed as the city lights sparkled beyond the window. I caught Emma's eye and saw the hope shining there. The prenup and canceled wedding had been devastating, but they'd led me to a destiny far greater than I'd imagined, becoming a CEO who leads with empathy, agility, and unwavering belief in the people he serves. In the end, we learned that when life forces a prenup and cancels your wedding, it doesn't cancel your future. Sometimes it propels you onto an unforeseen path, one where you discover that your greatest vows aren't signed in a courtroom, but lived every day through leadership, perseverance, and the courage to seize new beginnings.